some important things. I did it. We're going to talk about some important things that happened over the weekend. And for those who couldn't join tonight, we want them to be able to have this information as well. So happy Tuesday. I think we're on Tuesday. Let's start out by, see if I could share my screen. Because what happened over the weekend, I'm sure everyone or many of us saw Mark Ridley Thomas at the market on Sunday. So we want to talk a little bit about why he was there, what he shared with Billion, and also talk about some other things that happened on Sunday. So as usual, I like to start with this slide just to kind of remind us and anchor us in why we're doing what we're doing. So as always, it's a business community, modern day Black Wall Street and South Central, but at the same time, we're a community and business, honoring culture as we empower Black business. Going to our first slide. I don't know how many of us on this call were in the village Sunday after we ended the market at about 7:15. There was several police officers who ran through the market. Then there were a lot of police cars coming into the village. And then we had a helicopter circling above. There's been a lot of different stories about what happened, why the presence was there. I spoke to Officer Eveleth today. He said he thought it had something to do with the gang unit. He wasn't able to reach them today. He's going to be investigating and looking into what happened for us. Billion also mentioned the police presence last night on the EQUA call. And this morning we got a call from Johnny Rains, who's on the EQUA board. He said he also reached out to the, I think the station captain, station lieutenant, some higher up over at the police station. And he was given the same story, that it had something to do with the gang unit. So from the little bit that Paul gave, he said that there's been an increased gang presence in the parking lot behind the Vision Theater. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's not true. I'm sharing the information that was given by the officer. He said as a result of that increased gang presence, that there's now more gang unit patrols over there. Again, just sharing the information that was shared with us. I don't know if it's true or if it's not. Paul, as I said, is going to try to get more details for us. He said he's reaching out to the 911 switchboard to see what time the call originated, what was reported with the call. If it was not a call from a citizen, then trying to find out from the gang unit what prompted them to do a backup call. So based on all of this, I know the situation was frightening for a lot of people. It was angering. It was confusing and emotional. So for anyone who was there when it happened, if you'd like to talk about this some more, then you can stay on after the regular meeting, and then we can have, you can have any discussions as far as what happened on Sunday. We'll let Billion take over and lead the call from that point. But again, just asking that we have that conversation at the end of the meeting. So for those who weren't there, we can share the other information that happened over the weekend with them. Moving on to our next slide, excuse me. Again, we are trying to bring more people into the village to shop on Sundays. So we've started an advertising campaign. This is one of our marketing pieces, one of our printed pieces. We shared on Sunday samples of the flyers. So the 10,000 flyers that this appears on will be going out into the community by the end of this month. In addition, we have started listing the yoga and the other programming on websites like Nextdoor, Eventbrite, sharing it, of course, on our regular Instagram page. So doing all that we can to promote the market. In addition, we're having yard signs made. The little, you've probably seen them. They're little, they look like plastic signs. Sometimes they'll be yellow and they'll say like, we buy houses for cash. And you'll see them stuck in the grass along the median and maybe over in different neighborhoods. We're having some of those signs printed and ordered with information about the market, again, to attract more people to come to the market. And the other big project we're working on is having about 5,000 postcards printed that look like this on the front. And on the back, it'll have a list of the names of our participating vendors that are in good standing. Once we have the postcards printed, then we're going to have street teams take the postcards out to areas where there's a lot of tourists, because a lot of times Black people visiting the city don't know where the Black people are. So we're going to have the street team take the postcards out to like Hollywood, Venice Beach, Melrose, and other places, and let people know that, hey, this is where you should come on Sundays. Along with the programming and the marketing, the fashion show that was organized by Africatown and Wolof Wear this weekend, it was a huge, huge success. We've gotten so many favorable comments and reviews, likes and follows, just based on the success of the fashion show. So thank you, Bruna. Thank you, Africatown, who planned it and put it together. It was just a great success. They have planned for other fashion shows to happen, which will include some of the other vendors. So we will be sending out a form to find out which vendors are interested in participating. I know we have several vendors who do who design clothes and who make clothes. Also, we have jewelry vendors who could help accessorize the models for the fashion show. So again, this is a collaborative effort. It's always all about community and promoting the market and promoting everyone who's attached to the market. So that will be coming out shortly to find out who wants to participate in the upcoming fashion shows and or other programming. There's going to be programming that includes spoken word and singing and different things like that. Africatown will put out more information on those, but we know a lot of our vendors are talented in many ways. So hopefully you'll step up and you'll participate in the programming as it comes around.
Jen, can I ask a question?
Yes.
This is Diane from Designs by DHV. Regarding the fashion show, if we have our own models that would like to walk in the fashion show to display my jewelry, or can coordinate with Brenda, her clothing to walk in the fashion show, can we have a person that can walk for us?
All of that is part of the programming, which is handled by Africatown. So if you could put your email or your phone number in the chat box. Billion is on the call, and I believe Stephen is on the call. I can't see while I'm sharing the screen, but if you put what you want to do and put your contact info in the chat box, then I'll make sure that gets to Billion and Stephen so they can contact you directly to coordinate.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about the marketing or the fashion shows or the programming in general?
Yes, I have a question. Hi, Jen.
Hi.
In regard to the marketing, I don't know if you guys know, there is a couple years ago, I want to say it was before COVID, so it must have been 2019. There was a company that came to one of the festivals in the village, and they were promoting their website, which has different events all around the city. And that may be something that we should look into too. The name of the company, the website is called Black Cultural Events. And you know, they're part of the community. And like I said, they have different, you can advertise on there. And I think at one point it was free. I'm not sure if it still is, but that may be something that we can look into as well.
Okay, I just wrote that down, so I'll look up blackculturalevents.com and find out what the deal is. Also, across the street from the park is the Metaphor Club. One of the owners of the Metaphor Club has created a app called 365 Ally. And what it does is for 99 cents, a Black-owned business 99 cents per product, a Black-owned business can list their product on this app, and people all throughout the United States who use the app will see your products and can order directly from you. And why it's called Ally 365, what he explained is that there are a lot of white folks who want to show allyship. They might be in other states, other cities, or whatever the case may be. And his point to them was, you know, sometimes allyship looks like buying from a Black business and supporting Black businesses, in addition to other things that you wish to do as an ally. So he will invite him on one of our meetings so he can explain in more detail how the app works. But essentially you could spend, let's say $10, put 10 of your products on this app, and you could be getting sales from all across the United States. As I always say, we want our vendors to make money 7 days a week, not just on Sunday. So we're going to bring you options that will help you do that. If we don't have any more questions about marketing, then we'll move on to Mark. From marketing to Mark. MRT came out to the market yesterday. I'm sorry, Sunday. Not sure what prompted him to come out to the market, but he was there. He stopped by the info booth, and as you can see, he bought an Africatown t-shirt. I'm sorry, let me back up. I'm seeing Monique had a question about marketing. She has her hand up. Go ahead, Monique. I'm sorry, I missed you.
Oh, no worries. I just wanted to mention Slauson over there by the old marathon, I guess. There are a lot of tourists that come over there. And I mean, they always like, because I go and get some fish over there sometimes. And it's like, oh, we just coming from, Chicago, or we coming from out of here. And, we just thought we stopped by, over here, I guess, because they take pictures over there by the wall with Nipsey Hussle. And so that may be a place to pass out flyers and stuff.
Okay, thank you for that. That's an excellent idea. Okay, so going back to Mark Ridley Thomas. So about 2 weeks ago, I received a call from the Bureau of Street Services, and we were told, even though our permit had already been finalized and extended to June of next year, that the council office still wanted to make some changes to the permit. The way they keep presenting this is they keep saying, well, before we finalize the permit, we want to make these changes. But we have a written permit in hand, and on the permit, it says it's the final permit and that it's good through June of next year. So I don't understand why they keep coming back making changes. Part of it is because they were getting backlash from people who produce festivals in the village. That includes the Labor Day Heritage Festival, the World Peace Music Festival, Juneteenth, and other things. They're saying that the Sunday market interferes with these other festivals that either want to be on Saturday and Sunday, or they want to be multi-day festivals and go for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So we received the letter today, and basically, here's the letter. And what it's saying is that, number one, it talks about our requirements for our security guards. So right now we have 5 security guards each week. That runs us about $1,300 each week. They're saying in this letter that we can reduce it down to 2 security guards, which will save us some money. So, and again, I just got this letter today. That'll save us some money, but we'll have to sit down with Africa Town and the security company and, you know, see what that looks like as far as still maintaining the barriers. The security company, we haven't had any real issues of, I guess, crime issues or anything like that, people stealing from the vendors or anything like that in the market. The biggest area where the security has been helpful is maintaining the barriers, because even though people see the barriers up, even though people see the no entry sign, even though people see the security guards standing there with their yellow shirts on, there are people who still try to drive by the security guards, try to drive through them, or if the security guards leave to change shifts, go to the bathroom or whatever, we every week have had someone come into the barriers when they're not supposed to. The first few times it was motorcycles and mopeds, but the last 2 weeks we've had a car come in. So even though we can reduce it based on this letter, we still have to make sure that we have enough coverage to maintain the barriers, because cars moving within the barriers between the hours of 10 o'clock and 5 o'clock, that's a guaranteed into our permit. And we have people, even when we don't see people watching, we have people watching, because when Inspector Walker comes out, he says, even though I wasn't here, somebody called me and told me there was a car inside the barriers at 10:02 a.m. So whoever it is who doesn't want the market to be successful, they're watching and they're reporting. The next thing the letter talks about is now we have to pay for Inspector Walker being out inspecting us. That's what inspectors do. We have to pay for Walker's time at the market now. Walker has repeatedly said he lives in the neighborhood. He wants the market to be successful. So he was coming by volunteering on his off time, his PTO, whatever the city gives him. So he was using his own time to come out, but now they're telling him that he can no longer do that, that we have to be charged for his time. So basically they're adding $472 a week to the market fees for the first month. We have to pay that in advance. And you can see in the letter, it says totaling $1,888. They're saying it's just for the first month, and that if we meet all of the requirements, then maybe they can cancel it. There's no guarantee. Maybe they won't cancel it, and we'll still have to pay. It's like they reduced the fees in one area and then they increased them in another area. So it's not really like they're saving us any money. And from what we've been told, for other farmers markets, some of these fees are waived. The biggest part of the change to this permit is in the next paragraph entitled special event days. So you can see it says the African Farmers Market shall not operate on days that conflict with historical annual held events, including without limitations on the following dates. September 5th, which is Labor Day. October 16th, I'm not sure what holiday falls on October 16th. Maybe someone could look it up and help me out. January 16th, which is generally King Day. February 6th. And if you know what these holidays are, while I'm calling them off, please chime in. Just unmute yourself and chime in, because I haven't had a chance to look up all of these dates. So February 6th, February 20th, May 29th, which is the start of Memorial Day, June 19th, which is Juneteenth, and June 26th. So what they're saying to us is that our market has to shut down on these Sundays to allow whoever is planning the other events to come in and have their events for those days. We're looking into seeing if they're able to do this, because we're not trying to go against the community and interrupt any annual traditional holidays. But at the same time, we don't believe that it's fair that we have to completely not operate on those days. And then what it also does is it creates other issues like Juneteenth this year. We didn't have anything to do with the planning. The organizers that came in created issues for our vendors as far as the way the setup was held, as far as the fees, as far as, with the food vendors asking for money for permits that they did not apply for. So there's a lot of issues surrounding us not being able to have our vendors vend in their regular spots and at their regular prices during some of these festivals. So do any vendors have any feedback? I mean, we've never really had a conversation about what it looks like and how vendors feel on these special occasions, because some of the conversation is like, well, if I have a regular spot on Degnan every Sunday already for $30, why would I want to pay $400 for this one particular Sunday? But then there are other vendors who feel like, okay, I don't mind paying more for a special event because I know they're bringing in a bigger crowd and I know that I'm going to be generating more money. So collectively as vendors, before we respond to this letter, we're going to send out a survey to understand, how you as vendors feel about participating in these special events. Because if it's a thing of the vendors don't have a problem with the market being shut down, the vendors don't have a problem with paying higher fees to be part of these events, then is it something that we as the organizers will push back against? So you guys let us know, your thoughts and your opinions so we can figure out how we proceed on your behalf. Because as always, we're advocating for our vendors. So we need our vendors to let us know, what are we advocating? Nadia has her hand up.
Okay, so what I have come to the realization is, me personally, I don't know about anyone else, because even before our African Market and Drum Circle came about, I would pay for events, and then I would watch people come in and just set up or whatever, and I pay. And then even with Juneteenth, there was nobody really there to say, okay, you can't set up here. People were just setting up. There were just people everywhere set up. And then even with this World Music Festival, the same thing. So for me personally, I am never paying for another event with the exception of the African Marketplace and Drum Circle, Farmers Market in Leimert Park. That's just how I feel, because I don't think that it's fair that everybody, just comes in and don't pay, and then there's no repercussions. I'm like, okay, well, I try to do the right thing or whatever, but then, excuse my language, but I feel like I'm getting shitted on because no one's following the quote unquote rules, so that's just me.
Okay. I mean, very valid points. So again, we're going to send out a survey. There's going to be some, yes or no questions on there, but there's also going to be space for you to put in comments exactly like what you just said. And if you can, give examples, because again, just with the Juneteenth, the way that it was organized, we have had two people, and that's not a large number of community members, but they're the two that took the initiative, that came by the info booth at our market and said, hey, is there ever going to be a Juneteenth debrief? Because as a community, we have a lot of concerns and complaints about parking, about, trash beyond the perimeter of the Juneteenth footprint, because if there's no parking, when I left Juneteenth, I drove up Angeles Vista, and there were people parked all the way up Angeles Vista, walking down towards the park, towards the event. When you have things like that, that means people are leaving trash, people are blocking, the homeowners and different things like that. But because it's outside of the specific footprint of the event, none of that gets addressed. So the community has complaints, about these events. So we're going to figure out how to compile all of that and take that back, to the council district and say, either we're in agreement, we're in disagreement, or these are thoughts that we got from vendors, these are surveys that we got from the surrounding community, and this is how we would like to compromise. So we don't know what that conversation will look like at this point, but we want to go in armed with the voices of vendors and the community. Do we have any questions here or any other comments?
Yeah, I do. And then you know what? Then they changed the dates for that music festival, because initially I thought it was Saturday and Sunday, and then it ended up being what, Friday and Saturday?
They did. You're absolutely right. They did change it. So here's what happens is that whenever there's one permit granted, anybody else who applies for a permit cannot get a permit for that same street footprint on the same date. So because our permit was first, no one else could get a permit, including the World Music Festival. Now, we were approached on how do we collaborate. And again, it's a thing of, well, if you guys collaborate with us, we will let your vendors participate at a discounted rate. So instead of charging $400 for the 2 days, we'll just charge $200. So, and then the other part of it is, our vendors are like, but we're already here on Sundays. We don't want to lose our spaces. And with Juneteenth and other festivals, our vendors are pushed out for corporate vendors or higher paying vendors to have the spots on Degnan on 43rd Place. So in those conversations, there wasn't a place where we could agree on what it would look like. And the other part of it also was that they waited too late. We were told by the people who approved the permits that they waited too late to get all of their permits approved anyway. So that's why they changed the date. I'm giving the long version of the story because as these festivals come in, people are saying, well, the organizers of the marketplace are being difficult. They don't want to work with other organizers. And that's not the case. We would love to collaborate. We would love to do whatever we can to make sure we get more people in to help our vendors. But at the same time, we don't want our vendors to be price gouged. We don't want our vendors to be displaced. Again, our primary goal is to protect the interests of our vendors. And everyone's not always going to be in agreement with how we do that and what it looks like. So then we're getting this kind of reputation of we're difficult to work with outside promoters. So what the outside promoters did was go to the council office and say, hey, look, we want this. And they applied pressure to the point where we got this letter with these dates on it, if that makes sense. Nadia, did you have another question or your hand was still up from the last time?
No, I have another comment in regards to that World Muse Festival. Piggybacking off of what you said, as far as the permits are concerned, because I was confused too, as far as the Friday and Saturday when they said they sent emails out, but they didn't. Anyway, so she said the lady that was over the vending or the organization, she said the reason why they had to change the Friday and Saturday was because the fire department denied their permit to block off Vernon and Crenshaw. So that was the reason why they had to change the Friday and Saturday. And then as far as the vending fee, I had to call her on it because she changed up on me. Because remember, originally I had told you that I had reached out to them months ago when I first started seeing it on Instagram. And I asked her, did Leimert Park vendors get, are we going to get a discount? And then she asked, let me speak to the committee, yada, yada, yada. And then she said, yeah, that's fine. All the vendors that paid for the street vending permit will get half off, which was fine. And then all of a sudden, when it got closer to the date, then everybody that I gave the number to, they told me, oh, well, she said that she changed it and it's just for one day, you only pay for one day. So if you had non-food, it was supposed to be 150, which it changed, she changed it to 200. And I'm like, okay, well, you told me that it was half off. So I'm telling everybody it's half off. And then she started giving it, oh no, we took $100 off of the original, cost of the vending fee. So she changed up on it. And I just thought that was very unprofessional because, yeah,
Right.
so.
Right. And again, as we have these discussions with the council office, we'll bring all of that, to the table. And then just to reiterate and to be clear, anytime someone says they want to collapse our permit, use our permit, work with our permit, and things like that, we have to be very cautious because we have an actual map that we had to send to the fire department. And on it, we had to say, we have these many 10 by 10 pop-up tents where we have vendors. We had to number each space, and we have a list where, as Miranda assigns people to their spaces, their name is then coordinated with the number and the designated spot on the map. So it's not like, and there's a maximum number of vendors that can be in the space based on the fire department. I think it's like 110. So if we have, our 100 regular vendors to 110 regular vendors, we don't want to jeopardize our fire permit by cramming in another 100 or so vendors, and then to accommodate a promoter, and then the fire department comes out and says, hey, you guys have 200 vendors when your map says you only have 100, so we're going to have to lose your permit. The promoter is going to go on and have events in other places, still make money, still do their thing, but if we lose our permit, then we don't know where that's going to put us in the battle to hold our space. And then as we're talking about holding space, I'll turn it over to Billion for a minute so he can talk about a call that he just got off of, because there was recently a motion by City Council passed that they promoted as saying that it would it criminalizes homelessness. If you set up in front of a certain type of property, or if you're on the sidewalk for too long and all of these other things, then you could be in violation of this ordinance. But as people are reading into it, it doesn't just apply to homeless encampments. It can also be applied to street vendors. So Billion, do you want to jump in and explain more about that?
Good evening, family. It's kind of dark where I'm at. Y'all probably can't see me. But first and foremost, I want to thank everyone that's been paying their dues. I hear what you're saying, Nadia. The thing I've been sharing is that that's part of why Africa Town is really going out, doing our best to try to raise funds to help hold this space, to make up for people who aren't paying, but also to make up, because if everybody paid, we would still be about $3,000 short every week. So those of you that are paying, thank you. We went into Sunday not having all the funds to cover everything that needed to be covered, but because of people who did pay, we were able to do that. But also BLM LA once again saw our post, our call for help, and Sunday they came through and pretty much helped us go ahead and take care of everything that needed to be taken care of. Also, last week, going through everyone's pages, I saw more and more people are starting to promote the market, and trust me, that's going to pay off. All of a lot of the other marketing we're talking about, again, two of the biggest marketing tools right now are Instagram and TikTok. So trust me, those of you that are doing that, it's going to it's we're going to harvest from that. So again, thank you for doing that. Stay consistent with that. Just real quick with the fashion show, I just had somebody message me about the fashion show. This is something that's going to be every week, y'all. I've been announcing it for a couple weeks. I've been walking around talking to different clothing vendors. Again, we're not favoring anybody. The reason we started off with Brother Wolof, he was the first one to show interest in doing it. And from monitoring him from the past several weeks, we saw that he had a lot of different clothing. He had clothing for both men and women. His presentation on social media is very strong. So when we talked to him, he was like, yeah, I could do it. It took about 2 weeks for us to get it together. We had planned on it being weekly after the launch of it, because in past experiences, I used to work at a radio station in the jungles. One of the ways we got the station out there was by doing a lot of street events. Both concerts and fashion shows really helped to bring in a lot of support, bring in sponsorship. So moving forward, again, this will be weekly. Some weeks we may feature 2 different clothing vendors. Like Sunday, we had 2 different sets with the Wolof Wear Sonny Moore collection because of how many clothes he had. Some weeks we might feature 1 vendor in the first set, then we'll feature a second vendor in the next set. We're also looking to incorporate more of our jewelry designers into these shows. One of the questions was asked, can you bring your own models? Yes, we would prefer that, because again, we have a limited budget. So we don't have a lot to where we can invest to pay for models and a lot of different stuff. This past Sunday, Island Spice team stepped up and she worked with us to where we were able to at least feed the models. Brother Boona from Wolof Wear basically said he would take care of taking care of the models himself. So that really helped us to make that happen. But again, moving forward, we have a limited amount of time before the weather starts to change. But we do believe, whether it's weekly or every other week, we'll be able to get all of the clothing vendors we have out there who want to be involved in it involved. So far, we have with tonight on this call, I just got 2 different people expressing interest. We also have 2 others, so that's 4 people we now have expressing interest to be involved in it. So the next few weeks, is going to happen. So getting to what Jim was just saying about this new ordinance that's going to go into effect in the beginning of September, basically. So they've been billing it as helping the homeless, basically saying they're going to put resources into, okay, Nadia, everybody want to be a part of it is going to be a part of it. But 41 Municipal Code 41.18, they're trying to bill it as they're doing this to help the homeless. Between now and then, they have put a lot of funds into this street campaign where they're going to do outreach to talk to people to see what they need, how they can get them off the streets. But again, it's bullcrap, because at this point, with the amount of people that are on the streets, we wouldn't even be talking about criminalizing them right now. But as we read it, a couple other people pointed out it will also target street vending, as they are limiting the space where people can occupy the sidewalks. There's language in there also basically talking about obstructing the sidewalks, people setting up their personal property in the sidewalks. And again, that language can be used to affect street vending. So we know moving forward, very likely that's going to be another battle, coupled with the fact that all of these new vaccine mandates they're talking about right now. The vaccine mandates have been targeting government employees. Now it's starting to both the county supervisors and the LA City Council just said now they're going to try to enforce that on restaurants and businesses. And what very likely will happen, it may force a lot of these businesses to lose money, lose business. So they might lead the charge to push back against it, but it also opens up opportunities for street vendors to now tap into those products and services that people will be cut off from. So we could very possibly look at a rise in foot traffic as they start to stop people from getting into these businesses. So you figure whatever CVS is selling, if CVS is told people can't come in without proof of being vaccinated, then that might be the thing to invest in whatever they're selling at CVS or other places we find where they're blocking people from going in. That might be the thing to invest to add on to what you're already selling. But it's basically just another covert way to further try to push people out of the area. Again, cutting off people from jobs from the past several years, cutting off people's ability to keep up with the cost of living, paying their rents. All of these are efforts to push us out, to displace us. The call I was just on, the language we were more so using is population control, means that they have always used to remove what they call undesirables. And again, we know a lot of us, whether it's just us being Black or whether we haven't gone up the economic status that they feel, we should be on. But again, they see those of us that are operating, functioning out in the streets as those they don't want around here. So they're making it as impossible as they can for us to continue doing what we can. But what we also know is, just like we've seen for the past couple of months, when people rise up, organize in numbers and push back, they have to give in. Just after Ridley Thomas came Sunday, he turned around yesterday and announced he's not going to be running for mayor. Now, there's a lot of different speculations as to why that is. Someone shared with me yesterday, his explanation, and we're sure there's more to it than what he said. But at this point, we know he wants to be mayor. So there's a very obvious reason he's not disclosing as to why he's not running for mayor. But again, it all has to do with exposing their corruption and public pushback. So whatever they do come with the beginning of September, we'll monitor, we'll figure out the best way to navigate around it. But that, in addition to these ongoing permit challenges they keep putting forward to us, is again why we need people to keep making these calls when we ask folks to call, get on these different meetings. The meeting, I think it was last night with the finance committee, we had an excellent turnout. Last Saturday, I think it was, we had an excellent turnout. So more people are starting to get involved, but we just got to keep that consistent.
All right, thank you, Billion, for sharing all of that with us. And then with Billion mentioning every people who got on the EQUA call last night, EQUA is giving us a grant for $2,100. They are going to basically be paying for the barriers for 2 weeks. When we'll be able to pick up the check or all of the logistics, we haven't been told, but we had a meeting where we had to present last Thursday for their finance committee. And then once the finance committee approved giving us a grant for the $2,100, then last night we went in front of the entire board and presented, and the vote was like, I want to say 14 to 1. There was only one person on the board who said no, but the rest of the EQUA board agreed to give us the up to $2,100, like Medea said, for the barrier. So that's big news, actually, because when we started back in April, when we started applying for the permits, EQUA and many of the board members who are on EQUA are also on the Leimert Park Village stakeholders. They were very much against the vendors, very much against vending. So to see them turn around and not only suggest that we apply for the grant, Johnny Rains is the one who told us about the grant and sent us the application. So we've come so far that they're supporting us, not only in word, but also in deed. They approved the grant. So I think that's exciting. And I think that shows how far we've come. And even when I was getting the letter from the Bureau of Street Services, the person that I talked to over there, he was actually giving us kudos and accolades. And he said we were very formidable in fighting this fight. So I think as a group, we've gained a lot of respect in how we're fighting this battle to keep street vending. That also leads us over to what happened with the Avenue 26 market. So that could have been us had we not been able to all come together like we did and apply for these permits. So they've actually reached out to us, and we'll probably be speaking with them tomorrow, asking us, how did we go about the process of getting the permit? So of course, we're going to share the information with them, but I think that speaks volumes to how well we're working together. If we don't have any questions about that, then we'll go to the next item, which is we may be filmed for a TV show. So we've been contacted by the producers from a cooking show. I've never watched it, but it's called Broken Bread with Chef Roy Choi. And so one of their producers came to us at the info booth on Sunday to talk to us a little bit and get information. And then also another producer has been speaking to Nakia, asking her for information about the market. And then today, Nakia was able to bring me into the conversation as well. So it's pretty exciting because like I said, I personally didn't know anything about Chef Roy, but if you Google him, Chef Roy Choi, first name ROY, last name CHOI, he's a celebrity chef. He has a show called Broken Bread, talks about his food trucks, but just on Instagram, he has 456,000 followers. On Twitter, he's got about, I think it said 60,000 followers. So for us to be even mentioned and featured, and then his show is, it looks like on Netflix, it says the chef show on Netflix in his bio on Instagram. That's huge marketing opportunity to get our name just out, I guess nationwide his show goes. So what they're talking about is Chef Roy is going to be in the village because August is Black Business Month, and they're talking about highlighting Black businesses. From what we understand, there are going to be a couple of merchants who will be interviewed. And then I think most of you know Chef Whit from Voodoo Vegan. They're going to interview her about, her food truck and being a food truck vendor and a street vendor. And then from there, they're going to incorporate footage from a Sunday market. So they're going to come out to the market, I believe they said on the 28th, and film the market happening. So I just think it's huge. Do we have any questions about that or any comments about that? Okay, so someone open their mic who wants to speak.
Oh, this was Nakia. Also, I know that their first show was with Olympia with Supermarket and talking about the food deserts in our neighborhood. So this will be the second time that they are talking about what's going on in our area and highlighting some of the issues that plague our community. So I just wanted to go ahead and mention that.
And thank you. And Marcel put in the chat box that the 28th is a Saturday.
Yeah.
So I think they're still working out that detail. Generally, they don't shoot on Sundays. So they were trying to figure out, if we needed to do like a mock market on a Saturday so that we could still be included. But they wanted it to be authentic and real. So they're trying to arrange to see if they can come out on a Sunday. But however it ends up working out, they do want us to be included in the show. So as we get details, then we'll bring the details back to everyone to let everyone know, you know, this is the date, this is the time. Now, with that being said, I know in the past we've had conversations about some vendors can't come until later, but hopefully on this particular day, once we get the confirmation of the shoot, hopefully we can get all the vendors, you know, set up and in place and ready to go by 9 o'clock, 9:30, so that whatever time they start shooting, we look our best. We've got our best face forward because we're going to be on national TV. So we'll figure out, you know, what that looks like. If anyone needs assistance in being able to get set up that early, all of those different things, we'll work it out. But this is a huge opportunity for us.
So Jen, will there be street closure?
It'll be our regular market on Sunday. They'll
No,
just,
if it's on the 28th, for example, the date that you mentioned, will there be street closure?
so that is the part that we mentioned to them today. And that's when they said they're going to see, you know, what they can do, because in order for them to get permits, it's a big process going through Film LA and all
Okay.
of this. So it may be easier for them to make an exception and go ahead and shoot on Sunday. So as soon as we
Thank you.
find out for sure, then we'll be able to let everyone know.
Thank you, Jen.
This
And you
is
said
Diane
it's our
from-
regular time.
This is Diane from Designs by DHB. For that mark that you're doing, how the vendors going to be picked?
For the mock market?
Yes, how are you choosing the vendors? How are they
So
chosen from the people that are paying or the people are not paying?
that's a great question. So if that ends up being the case that we need to do a mock market on a Saturday, then I asked, you know, how many vendors did they want? Because the show is focused on food, you know, was it more food vendors that they wanted or what they were looking for? So we're asking all the questions that you're asking. And at this point, we don't have a solid answer. As soon as we do, and we know what kind of vendors they want, how many vendors, then we'll be able to have the conversation about how the vendors are picked. But as we talked about in Sunday's meeting, when opportunities arrive, the first opportunity is always going to go to the vendors that are in good standing. That just seems equitable and fair across the board.
Thank you so much for that information.
No problem, no problem. Any other questions or comments concerning the filming? Okay, so that is really everything that we have for the meeting this evening. We discussed the letter. That's the biggest thing that we'll be working on for the next week or so, figuring out how do we need to push back against the letter. And we're going to send out a vendor survey that'll come out tomorrow, no later than Thursday, so we can get the vendors' input and we can have something to take to CD10 when we meet with them. And then we talked about, what did we talk about? We talked about the filming, we talked about the grant, and as always, we're always looking for people to share information with us if they know about any grants that we can apply for. We're still looking for grant writers. I believe there were a couple of vendors who said they had access to grant writers through some groups they were part of. And we're always looking for corporate sponsorship from Black-owned corporations and Black-owned companies. So if you know anyone who would be willing to sponsor us, you know, we can do shout outs to them. We can do some branded marketing material. we would like to, generate funds so that we can continue with the programming, so that we can do more and more marketing, just so that we can continue to grow. So if you know any Black-owned companies that would be willing to sponsor us, please send us their information so we can connect with them. Billion has his mic open. Go ahead, Billion.
Yeah, just two things real quick. Going back to the fashion show one more time again, we believe everybody will have an opportunity to be featured. We do know Buna sales went up Sunday. A couple people told me they had been passing by the brother, seeing his products, and hadn't really even thought about it. But once they saw some of the sisters wearing the dresses, it pushed them to go and purchase from him. Another thing we noticed on the end towards 43rd Street, one thing again we could get activity going on there is if the individual vendors promote and host, you could buy something like a wheel and just have people step up, spin the wheel, and win a prize. Or again, a bingo contest. One sister, already talked to her. She's talking about bringing a pole and having a pole contest. But again, all these little things add into the draw there. Again, just like Venice Beach, as you're walking down the beach, you got some people that just sit there. Then you got other people doing different things to draw folks to their table. But collectively, it adds in the experience of going to Venice Beach. Second, the conversation with Mark Ridley Thomas. So he came Sunday, and I do believe it was in part because of all the calls a lot of you've been putting in, and also some of the actions we've been holding over the past couple of weeks. But he basically shared that as Jen just showed the letter, he said we will be having a meeting next week, and we will be going over a lot of the things Jen shared in the letter. We got straight to the issue of funding, and he said that very likely will happen. He did try to draw it into both the market and having us as Africatown clean up the public parking lot west of Degnan, basically the parking lot behind Aki Bamboo and SO1 Books and all of that. But we're going to make sure that there are two separate things that happen. First and foremost, funding for the market to help sustain the market, to help alleviate some of these fees and requirements we're having to deal with every week. But then second, he's really pushing to have the market put into the public parking lot. But Jen shared with him that she would prefer to have it go over on Leimert Park Boulevard, which would allow it to still be open. It will allow for traffic passing by to see it, for people walking up and down the street to see it, and it's to have more exposure to the public. We know last time when they put a farmer's market, it was in the parking lot of Flair Cleaners, and it had almost no success. People couldn't really notice it. It was behind those gates, just like the parking lot they want to put in now. It's real gated. It's hard to see it. Nobody would know about it unless we did some big time marketing. So, we're really fighting to keep it from being put back into that parking lot. But again, these are things we're going to discuss in this upcoming meeting. And again, it might be a situation where we walk out of it with the things we want, some of the things we want, but very likely even after this meeting, because he did share that this will be the first of several meetings that will need to take place. But again, in the meantime, what we have learned is even when you're negotiating with these different entities, you still have to organize the community to apply pressure. So moving forward, probably over the next year of holding this permit, we will have to keep figuring out different strategies to make them give up the concessions we need.
Thank you for sharing that. And thank you, Billion, for being one of the organizers who's patient and willing to go to these series of meetings because I'm not as patient. And my thing is, if we sit down at the table and we talk about what we need to talk about, how hard is it to say yes or no that we can be on Lamert? How hard is it to say yes or no, we're going to give you guys the funding that we give the other farmers markets? So thank you for sharing all of that, and thank you for being patient, because to me, it doesn't take a series of meetings to let us know, you know, what you're going to do. But that's just me. If we don't have any other questions or comments about anything that was covered at the meeting tonight, then I can turn the meeting over to Billion for anyone who wants to discuss the police presence on Sunday. I have to get off the meeting. I have family here from out of town, but I can make Billion the host of the meeting, and everyone could share their thoughts, concerns, and questions about what happened with the police on Sunday. So Billion, if you want to unmute yourself, I'll make you the co-host, or I'll make you the host, and then you can continue the meeting from here.
All right, everyone. So almost immediately after we sat down, about 7 o'clock, 7:15, we had actually just finished packing. We were about to pull off and leave, and then all of a sudden, I believe it was Anthony that alerted us that the police were running through the village. They were coming up Degnan, and I believe it was about 4 or 5 of them we saw, and then immediately following them, we saw a couple of young brothers like running right behind them. So we went ahead, followed them. They went through the drum circle, then they went around to Lamert, ran down Lamert. By the time they got halfway down the block, one of the Latino officers, and that's something else we noticed initially, that at first it was all non-Black officers. So when we got halfway down Lamert, one of the Latino officers appeared to run out of breath, and he kind of stepped to the side by himself. So we kind of surrounded him and started questioning him, you know, what was going on. And he was like, "Oh, it has nothing to do with y'all. You know, we're not here for y'all. Don't worry about it." So we kept questioning him, and then he finally shared that they were supposedly in pursuit of a felon. So then we saw more cars pull up by the liquor store. We walked down and we started to realize they were building a perimeter all the way around up Lamert Boulevard, down 43rd Street. I got a call from Kevin. He was in the parking lot east of Degnan. He told us they were inside the parking lot. So we walked around, saw police inside the parking lot. Then we went ahead and walked back to Degnan and saw they had blocked people from exiting the 43rd Street barrier. And then we looked up Degnan and we saw they had started pulling cars into you know, where a lot of the food vendors were at. So at one point, someone heard that they were supposedly looking for someone who didn't have a shirt on. So it was suggested that we take our shirts off. So a few of us did that. And by the time we got up to Degnan, we saw, again, it was mostly non-Black officers. So one of the vendors, he was getting into it with one of the white officers. And, you know, the white officer just being real arrogant, trying to low-key talk smack. You know, we stepped up to them and, you know, basically let them know that we have our area secure. And, you know, over the years, we've had a lot of incidences in there. One of the initial reasons why we formed our coalition was because of the police killings. And as soon as we started organizing against that, we also had a crisis inside the park before the gate went up, where about 50 people were sleeping in the park. And at that point, a number of officers were running into the park, beating brothers and sisters in the park. So we had a lot of physical fights with police over a few years. And one of the things LAPD did, they withdrew most of the white and non-Black officers, and they started putting mostly Black officers on patrol around there. So I think when a lot of you started coming, setting up for vending. That's what you all saw with Cole and the different regular Black officers who were there. And then in 2017, when we were shutting down Hubert's liquor store, Paul arrived, and he shared with us that he had come and basically tried to mediate between us and what was going on in the community. So for the last couple years, it had mostly been Black officers and Paul. So when we saw all of these mostly non-Black officers and just one Black cop, we held ground to let them know their presence wasn't welcome. They were intimidating. And at that point, we really didn't know whether or not they were truly in pursuit of anyone, or whether this was a tactic to try to scare everyone. Because we had been told the Saturday night before, on Saturday night at Utopia, a police helicopter came and was shining lights on people. So at that point, we didn't know if these were intimidation tactics or what was really happening. So we basically held ground. Finally, the watch commander came, questioned them whether or not I was the suspect, because again, they were supposedly looking for someone with the shirt off. They told him no, so he immediately had them withdraw from the area. So last night, I did bring it up in the ECWA meeting, and as Jen said, Johnny Rains reached out to try to find out, more information. And when he spoke to Officer Paul was saying he wasn't aware of it. He went back, made some calls, came back, told Johnny Rains that, I forgot what exactly he said, but basically he said it was the gang unit, and they noticed someone who had violated probation or something. They were a felon, so they were in pursuit of them. And he was saying that when they're in pursuit of someone, those officers who are actually chasing the person are not going to answer any questions, and it would be up to those who were standing on the sidelines, which is how we got the initial information. But again, our thing is, at this point, with the rate at which they're killing Black folks, the rate at which they're snatching people up off of these streets, our position for the past 5 years now has been they're not welcome there. In this specific situation, if it's somebody violating parole or probation, that's something that we as Africatown most definitely do not handle. But a number of the business there for the past several years have also reached out and called us to address whatever issues they had. Like at the liquor store, hardly ever do they call the police. One of our agreements for allowing Eddie to come and run that store was that he hired Black people, and most of the brothers and sisters he has in there to date have been able to resolve a lot of the issues in the store. So at this point, if there are any questions or concerns about what happened, any other information anybody has, is open.
Which
And I'm
division
new to
they out
this,
of?
so I'm sorry, go ahead, Monique.
Which division are they out of?
Southwest, right there on King and Dinker.
On King and okay, because they look familiar. I was watching it on your Instagram page. Now you know that sister that was shot over there, were killed over there off of Western and what is that, 70? Is that 79 or
Right.
76? It looked like those. I recognize a few of those officers that were at her, I guess, repast or some she had. Well, not she, but her family had held one day over there, and it was a big commotion. I mean, they had went into that Arco gas station, blocked all that off, and then just blocked off 76 to I think maybe up to 83rd. And you know what? And the nation had came out that day too. It was a huge commotion. Helicopters was everywhere. But the young lady obviously, was dead, but her family was out there. It was just folks was grieving, but they never said anything about the young man who apparently the suspect who killed her. And so a lot of us didn't understand what was, what the commotion was. And I think a few of those officers had started agitating the young lady's family. And so I was like, when I seen the video, I was like, those officers look very familiar. And they could have
Right,
been
right. And
the same ones.
yeah, a lot of times when they have a large assembly, they will pull in officers from different stations. So I believe that's pretty much between Southwest and the 77th Division. So I'm pretty sure, you're more than right. That normally would be, I think, outside of their general patrol area. But yeah, sometimes they bring folks all the way from 77th over here. Sometimes they bring folks from I think it's called Mid City up on Venice down here. So yeah, very likely. But again, our thing isn't so much black cops are better than whites and Latinos, but we know we at least eliminate a lot of the racial tension when we have black officers. Sometimes they can be worse, but more often than not, we've witnessed, especially over the past couple of years, like with Cole and the regular crew that's over there, things can usually be de-escalated without violence having to happen or without arrests being made. So that's why we really held the position we held Sunday, because again, we had limited information. And after time, you can kind of read a lot of these pigs' energy. And I saw with the initial white boy and then finally one of the Latino dudes that came, they were itching for something to happen. So that's why we kind of like took control and just let them know, at this point, we don't care about your badge. If y'all even thinking or look like y'all about to hurt somebody, we're going to go there with you. And fortunately, a lot of times that helps to get them to stand down. And once the watch commander came, I think he kind of realized they were outnumbered at that point, and it wouldn't have been in their best interest to escalate trying to make arrests or escalate trying to push us out of there. So fortunately, he made the right call and had them withdraw. Nadia, I saw you left a few comments. I didn't get a chance to read them. You mind going ahead and sharing what you were saying?
Yeah, I was just saying that as far as because I saw the cops run past my booth, and that's all I seen. And then they said that, oh, there was a guy that ran by, but there was nobody that ran by. Just like you said, only people that ran by was those 5 cops, and then the guys ran behind them, running, trying to find out what was going on. And then I went and stood like right there by where the drum circle was to find out what was going on. Nobody knew what was going on at that time. But then I also said that when those cops pulled up, and the one that I can't think of his name, the guy that makes the copper jewelry right there on the corner, when the one that he was arguing with, he had his hand on his gun the whole entire time. And I was really concerned about that because he was really like antagonizing everyone, saying whatever he's saying. Then I also said that I really find it ironic that Mark Ridley Thomas was there, and then all of a sudden on the same day that he comes there, then this happens. Because it just seemed like it was like, okay, come in there and let's cause some confusion, and then let's say this, because it was like 2 different things that they said, so yeah, I just think that they probably told him to come in there and do that.
Right. At this point, I wouldn't put anything past them. The call I was just on before this, it was a lot of people who were over at Echo Park prior to the police raiding them. And one of the things they shared was a lot of the infiltration, the undercovers that was placed on them, and a lot of different provocateurs who were sent over there to create disruption, which then gives reason for people to call the police in. So at this point, again, knowing how much they want us out of this space, we don't put too much past any of them. One of the stories we were told was that they saw the suspect, a supposed suspect, by the liquor store. He then ran through the parking lot and he hopped the fence where they're doing the construction on the back of the Vision Theater. So again, as they ran up Degnan, to us it didn't make too much sense. It seemed like, you know, the two driveways right there, the first driveway that leads right into the construction site, and then the second driveway by Sika, it seems like they would have held position there if the person hopped the fence way back there. Why they ran all the way up around to the drum circle really didn't make that much sense to us. So again, at this point, we don't really know. I think I was sharing with you yesterday that more than likely Officer Paul will be on the next neighborhood council meeting and even the stakeholders meeting, and he will give whatever narrative the LAPD is going to put out as to why things happen the way they happen. But yeah, you know, we're in space that is really wanted. We got billion-dollar interests that want this space, be it Metro, Wacom, these others. So, you know, they're going to get the cooperation of the city council, the LAPD, and whoever else at this point. I see Nakia, you
Right.
have your
And
hand
another
up.
thing that
Go ahead, Nadia, real quick. Nadia or Nakia,
I was
whichever.
saying, like when we talked yesterday, Nadia, I was just saying that I was concerned about, you know, them saying that this has something to do with the marketplace or whatever. And, you know, trying to say, okay, that's it. We're going to shut it down. This is too much, you know, whatever, even though it had nothing to do with us.
Right. Well, yeah, one, it happened after the market, and two, the person that they were after, the whole thing supposedly initiated outside of the market ground. So we doubt seriously they'll try to tie that into us. Nakia, go ahead, mute yourself.
Now that I'm going back over Sunday, one of the officers, they said that something happened with some kids. And then when we were standing there and I asked one of the officers that was on the line um, uh, why they were there, he said that somebody likely that somebody was trying to rob somebody, and then now we're hearing that it was it was the gang officers. So it seemed like all the officers should have had the same story, correct?
Right. We also
Right.
were
Yeah. So
told it was a
that's a
robbery at
little weird.
McDonald's.
Yeah. So it wasn't like I heard hearsay from the community, but those were things that's coming out of officers' mouths. So they should have
Right.
had the same story. So that's way weird.
Right. So again, you know, the story never adds up when they're not telling the truth or when it's something other than what they want you to know. So, you know, we just got to take note of this. And if we see this as a pattern, then we have to start calling them out on it. Again, it's similar to what we were dealing with, you know, when they were trying to get our brothers and sisters who are homeless out of the park. You know, there were a lot of different suspicious activities. They were supposedly coming in response to certain calls and saying they were in pursuit of certain people that, you know, were nowhere near around. But yeah. And also, it was a good thing that people broke out their cameras and started documenting as they did, because, you know, if things escalate or whatever, they for sure are going to try to put a spin on it. Somebody had a gun, or somebody did this, that, or the other. So in those situations, you know, all who were present, if you can't remember, you know, also pull out your phone and document, because you might catch something one camera didn't. I saw 3 different videos so far, and it covered a couple of different angles. I'm really more so studying the energy of the different police and the different ones that look like they were really there to escalate things, and then seeing the other ones and the different formations they take as they were coming. Because like I said, they had a perimeter all the way down Lemert that a lot of you may not have seen. They went through the parking lot by the liquor store, the back parking lot behind the Vision, and then cut the barrier off on 43rd Street, and then brought in the crew. Most of you saw through Crenshaw. So, you know, they had fully surrounded the area. Right, and they had the helicopters.
Mhm.
I see there are some hands up. Again, I'm new to this. I don't know where to identify who hands up, but at this point, just go ahead and mute yourself and speak your piece.
Okay, I think I heard something earlier on the news about a daycare or a childcare facility in Leimert Park that was under investigation. Apparently there's been some children that's been touched. And so I'm not sure if that's the same thing that the sister was referring to, but it was on the 5 o'clock news and I was shocked. I was like, what is going on? But they didn't say exactly where at in Leimert, but they I guess it's some childcare center. So I don't know if they have anything to do with Sunday or not.
Okay, well, yeah, that's the first I've heard of that. But you know, again, as we all are out there, that's something that we do monitor. We have had to uh get people out of the space, you know, whether they expose themselves or whether they've approached women, children in different ways. But yeah, you know, those are all the things we have to monitor to make sure the police aren't called in to deal with if we can nip those things in the bud ourselves. Is there another hand up? Go ahead, unmute yourself. Are there any more comments, questions? If not, I guess we could go ahead and start wrapping this meeting up. And just one last time, as far as the fashion shows, you know, we are looking to incorporate everyone, but also those who don't sell clothes or jewelry. We're also looking at ways we can better market and promote you all within the market. You know, we might look at having some type of food contest with some of the food vendors out there. You know, pretty much everyone's food I've tasted so far is on point. But you know, whatever it is we can to help all of us bring in more people, you know, that's what we're really looking for. So any ideas you all may have, just share them with us. And, you know, to the best of our ability, we're going to incorporate and we're going to try to take everybody's that's out at Venice Beach and bring them over here to Africa Town. Everybody up in Hollywood, bring them over to Africa Town. Because everybody, even non-Black folks, want to know where the Black people at. So we got where all the Black people at. We just got to let them know we there, y'all. So if that is all, everybody have a great night, great week, and we will see y'all again this weekend. Like Jen said, they're going to put out application for folks who are interested in being involved in the fashion show, so you can fill it out and we can you know, start helping you get ready to participate in that. But also the movie coming up on the 28th, get that information to y'all as soon as possible. But also just let us know any issues between now and then. So everybody have a great night.
Hey, before you go, I wanted to say congratulations on yesterday and then on the 89.3 broadcast.
Oh yeah, yeah, most
Yes.
definitely. Thank you. Thank you. You know, again, that's the noise we all are making. So folks are coming. So, you know,
Mhm.
we're gonna make the most out of it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. All right, everybody. See y'all in a minute.
Good night,
Good night.
everybody.
Have a good one.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
No, that's not.